Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm a guest designer over at Crafters Castle, where we are celebrating the holidays, and I am delighted to be working with the Santa Passport Kit, full of wonderful holiday digital papers and ephemera. So let's get in a holiday mood and let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Design Space. I have already imported the different pieces that I want to use from the Santa Passport Digital Kit. I encourage you to go over to visit Monica at Tailor Made Cards for You. There are many more images and papers in this kit, and you are going to love them. They are so vintage and adorable. It really took me back to my childhood and some of the decorations in my grandma's house at Christmas time. So I really enjoyed this kit. These pieces right here and here are my card fronts that I made and a tag. And I went ahead and cut these little gifts here to pop on top with some dimensional foam for the tag. This piece I'm using as the insert for my cards, so I'll go ahead and print as many of these as I want for inserts. And then this is the envelope that I'm wanting to use for my cards. Now that's what I want to concentrate on today, is making this envelope, because as we know, those of us who use Cricut, we cannot print and cut anything over 6¼ by 9¼ inches. So that's 6.25 inches by 9.25 inches. My envelope measures over that. It measures 7.379 by 9.356. Now, if we go ahead and we take this card and we rotate it 90 degrees, I can bring it up here and show you that this card is going to fit quite nicely into this envelope. Okay, it'll even give me a little bit of wiggle room for my bow if my bow sticks over a little bit. So I know that I cannot print and cut my striped green paper that I want to use for this envelope in Cricut Design Space. I'm not sure if what the dimensions are, for example, in the other cutting machines. I haven't ventured into any of those to that much detail yet, but I know in Cricut you cannot. So I thought, well, how am I going to do this? Because I really want to have this all as one piece. I want the envelope with this little label, and I want it on as one piece. I don't want to cut this separately and adhere it. So what I did is I went into my notes program on my Mac, and I'm going to bring that over. And I imported a piece of the paper measuring approximately 8 by 10, because I know that I can cut my envelope over here, which again measured 7.379 by 9.356. I know I can cut that on this paper that I'm bringing in at approximately 8 by 10. Now, after I brought that in, I can move that around by hitting my format, arrange, and I can change the angle of my paper when I import it. Okay, and so that's how I got the stripes to go in on that diagonal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take that back to 0. Now, the next thing that I did is I went ahead and brought in this little piece of ephemera Okay, this little tag that says to from, I think that's so cute. And I brought that in at approximately 2.188 by 4 inches. After I brought that in, I thought it would be great fun to go ahead and bring in the shadow. Now, all I needed to do there to bring in that shadow, and I'm going to bring up another screen for us to do that. All I needed to do was hit this piece. So I'm left clicking the piece, hitting style, and you can see I can hit no shadow, or I can hit drop shadow. I can change the opacity of that shadow. See how it's getting very light, very dark. I can change the offset from being sort of equal around to more towards the bottom. I can change the blur, makes it go further out. Okay, so there are lots of things I can play with here and change. Now coming back here, I want to show you how I knew where to position this on my green and white striped paper. Let's go back to Cricut for a moment. I know that when I cut this on the mat, that my mat is going to look like this. It's a 12-inch by 12-inch mat. And I know that I can cut it up in the left-hand corner of that mat. I know that when it cuts, it gives me a little bit of a border here. It gives me a little bit of a border here. So I'll be honest with you, I just sort of guesstimated this. I came in with a shape, all right? And so I just came over and hit shapes, square. Took my square and determined approximately how far I wanted it from the edge of the paper or the edge of the mat. And so I estimated about 2.074, but I knew that I'd probably have a little more gap there, so I went ahead and set it in at about 2.25. Then I came in from the top here and came down approximately 4 inches or a little more. And then when I came in to my other piece, I did the same thing. I grabbed a shape up at the top, grabbed my square, took it over here, lined it up with the edge, pushed it over 2.14, brought it down from the top about 3.99, so about 4. This gave me a pretty good guesstimation as to where to place this for my printing. So I got rid of my square. It's important that you get rid of that before you print this. I've done that before, left the square on and printed. You don't want to do that. Get rid of your square, print your piece, and then you're ready to just go ahead and feed it in and cut it. So before we make this, we want to make sure that we do not have this piece flattened to this piece, or else it's going to print that way. I don't. I have it grouped together right now, but I do not have it flattened. Okay, just want to make sure that we're clear on that. So let's move on and let's make this project. So I'm going to go on down to the envelope, and there it is. I have it pushed up into the corner as far as it will go, and it should be there by default. I hit continue. I'm using medium cardstock. I click. I also do not have this scoring wheel So I have to edit tools and put in scoring stylus. So if you have not purchased one of those for a maker yet, you can still use your scoring stylus. Just be sure you change that. Hit apply. And we're ready to cut. And it should give you a pretty good cut on that. If not, you can always go back and do some tweaking on your envelope and move your to and from tag slightly and get it exactly where you like it. But if you want a piece that's all one, that's the way to do it. I'm going to run off to my craft desk and I'm going to go ahead and put this envelope together. So here we are with the envelope cut, and I'm just showing you that blurred shadow that is underneath the label, and also pointing out where some of those score lines are that the Cricut put in. We're going to just bring those over and crease those, giving them a nice sharp crease there. Once I have all of those burnished in, I'll bring in some of my ink. And again, I'm using a retired color from Close to My Heart. I believe I'm using the Cashmere, and it gives it a nice vintage look. I'm going to take a sponge and just sponge around all of those edges. I'm going to go around the edges of the envelope as well as all of the creased lines that I just burnished in, the fold lines. Next, I'm going to come in and put some double-sided tape right along the edges. Now, be careful when you bring that flap down, that bottom flap, and you unfold it, that you don't take your double-sided tape all the way to the top. So you're going to want to sort of eyeball or maybe even measure and mark how far up you want that tape to go. And that way you won't go too far if you're putting the tape on the tabs. Now here I'm just placing it on the bottom flap, but I will place it up on those tabs. And you'll notice that when I do that, I'm going to come in and I will be sort of eyeballing that, giving myself a little bit of a measurement there. There I am showing you, don't go above there. So I just stuck my thumb there so I would know not to go above there. Once you have your double-sided tape in place, all you need to do is just peel off your backing, and once that backing is gone, you just fold that envelope up. I didn't bother with glue on this because I felt pretty secure that my fold was pretty crisp and that it was going to fit exactly where I wanted it. So I wasn't too concerned about that. Next, I have that little piece of ephemera that says Parcel Post. Now, obviously, I don't want to stick this down and seal it because I want to be able to put my card inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of that vintage color along the edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and just adhere it to the bottom of the envelope for right now. And then I can just go ahead and tuck the top flap into it. Obviously, when I choose to mail this or hand deliver it to my recipient, I can take the backing off of the envelope flap and seal that down, and I can go ahead and take it off of this other piece of the parcel post, and I can adhere that also. So here's one last look at that envelope front. Hey, thanks for joining me today. It's always great to have company here at Scrappy Horses, and I value the time that you spend with me. I so appreciate it. I invite you to subscribe to my channel, and I definitely encourage you to visit Crafters Castle Challenge and tailor-made cards for you. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.